From the series of crafting endgame gear for Cold Dot build, in this video today I want to show you how to make gloves like this. I'm not going to go too much into detail about the implicits, but basically if you care about inflicting cold exposure on heat, you can go to either the cheapest one with -11 and then take this mastery which gives you inflict exposure you inflict applies at least -18, um, or if you only care about farming ubers and for general mapping you don't care about exposure, you could go inflict cold exposure on heat when a pinnacle boss is in your presence or something like that. That would go up to 20 something percent, and also the same goes for the implicits. If you really don't care about cold multi in general or for just unique enemies and you only want the best damage for ubers, you'd go while a pinnacle boss is in your presence. You get more cold damage over time multiplier, I guess is 38 or something like that. Get it to as high of a tier as you possibly can, prioritizing the cold damage over time multiplier over the exposure, because we already have so many curses and curse effect that um, cold exposure doesn't really have much of an impact past a certain point. But that being said, now let's talk about how you would go about crafting the gloves. I would suggest that you craft on an evasion uh, base gloves, because if we go to this applies for any spell suppression craft, but let's just say that we go to gloves that have dex and int, and we would use an essence of delirium, let's just say, because it's a suffix, it is important. um, if we want to hit spell suppression, it would take us 92 tries, whereas if we go on a dex base, it would only take 40 tries. So it would be advised you go for such a fracture that gives you as much life as possible on an evasion rating base. But if you wanted the best base possible, for example, you have to go to the trading site and you would go to a base of strength dex, or you would go to for a base of dex int, depending on whether or not you want more energy shield or you want more armor. Like for example, in my case of my body armor, I have a lot of energy shield, but I could also go for the full dragon scale, if I remember correctly, that's how it's called, which also gives you a lot of armor and is also a dex base. If you don't find such a fracture on the market, this is how you create such a fracture, the best fracture you can get. So let's just say that it's the base percentage should be 100 if you go for the armor. But if you don't go for the armor or the energy shield with dexterity base, then you don't care about the base percentage right here. But let's just say you go for the gloves that give you um, armor and the energy shield. Let's see how they are called. Strength text. So you would go for dragon scale gauntlets. You would type 100. Um, you say search any non-unique. You would buy a base like this. What that base percentage means, if you look under quality and look at evasion rating, there's a number and that number goes up to 163, and if you have 100% at base percentage, it would give you 163 evasion rating. but to be honest, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But this is how you craft the best of the best. So you would buy this type of dragon scale. um, you would go here, you would just use make it rare, use perfect fossil, um, until you get 30 quality like this. Then at this point you would go to essences, you would go to essence of greed, you spam until you get 96 if you want to make the fracture. If not, if you can just snipe a similar pair of gloves like this, uh, you can you should snipe a pair of gloves like this, to be honest. um, but this is how you make the fracture. I'm just explaining it. uh, until you hit 96 maximum life and 4 modifiers in total. If there are more than 4, you just annul and hope that it doesn't remove the maximum life. Then use a fracturing orb until you get 96 maximum life fractured like this. At this point, what you would do, you'd go to essences, spam essence of delirium, because essence of delirium will give you socketed gems deal 30% more damage like this. And how much spell suppression you need, it depends. It depends. You look at your build, you look at your tree. This jewel right here may also give you some spell suppression, but you make some calculations. If you decide that you need tier 2 spell suppression, you spam essence of delirium until you get tier 2 spell suppression. If you also need a resistance, I'll show you how to do it. But basically you spam this. And if you have a shit suffix, you just annul. There's nothing else you can do. You just annul, um, and in the hopes that it removes this modifier. If it doesn't remove it, then there's nothing else you could do. And you also need an empty prefix. You would go to crafting bench, use crafted suffixes cannot be changed. At this point, let's just assume that you need an elemental resistance. You would go to add remove. You don't want to use reforge because that can destroy your prefixes, and this is also costly. But you'd add remove resistance until you're happy with the result. If 32 it's good for you, you just go for you just leave it as it is. But let's just say that 32 it's not good for you. Once again, use orb of annulment, and there's a chance it breaks your item. If it breaks your item, once again, spam essence of delirium. As you can see, it's going to be very expensive, and this is why I suggest you to not go for tier 1 spell suppression and also go for an evasion based pair of gloves. Once again, suffixes cannot be changed, add, remove. Let's just say that we are happy with this number with tire of fire resistance. Um, at this point, you would go with the beast that gives you suffixes cannot be changed, because now you can. You have all the 3 suffixes locked. Suffixes cannot be changed. You would use um, H-link. Or no, I forgot to mention. If you somehow have a prefix like this, then you have to go and scour at this point, so that you only have the fractured maximum life. Once again, use the beast that gives you suffixes cannot be changed, H-link. At this point, you check what you need to block. In case you don't know how to block, I will explain it quickly. But basically, every modifier right here has a tag, and if more modifiers have the same tag, um, that means uh, by crafting any of those modifier, uh, will remove the the other modifiers that have the same tag from appearing. In this case, there is no such modifiers, so you'd naturally block the one that has the highest weighting, which would be physical damage converted to lightning. Um, Physical damage converted to fire, lightning, cold, they all have the same weighting, and you would unveil +2 AoE. If it gives you anything else, at this point you would once again suffixes cannot be changed because we didn't hit what we wanted. Once again we would have to use scour. Again, suffixes cannot be changed. Again, Aisling. Craft, physical converted, unveil. We got +2 melee. It's bad. We repeat the process, burn through divines until we get +2 AoE. Once again, we didn't get it. +2 AoE like this. And now I'm assuming you already have a mageblood if you're looking at the craft like this. You would craft um, damage during flask effect. Like this, and this is your pair of gloves. This is how you craft endgame gloves for Cold Dot.